Among this year's Oscar nominees is a short film called Detainment, about the horrendous murder of a 2-year-old that took place in Liverpool, England in 1993. Now the family of that little boy says the film never should have been made without their approval.
2-year-old James Bulger's body was found yesterday.
It was a crime that captured the attention of the world, one retold countless times. This is Australian TV several years ago.
2-year-old James Bulger was lured to his death. A murder made so sickening because the killers were children themselves.
2 10-year-olds, Robert Thompson and John Venables, grabbed little James from a supermarket while his mother was paying for groceries. The Oscar-nominated film Detainment reenacts the confession scene taken from transcripts.
You see, Robert says that he was with you, and that you were indeed in Bootle New Strand together.
We wasn't.
Robert says you were?
Yeah, we was, but we never saw any kids then.
The mother of murdered toddler James Bulger says the first she heard of the film was shortly before Christmas.
I thought it was just going to be a flash in the pan, it's just going to go away.
But it didn't go away. It got a lot of attention and an Oscar nomination in an entertainment category.
It's not like it's a documentary that's showing new information. It is a reenactment.
And it paints a fairly sympathetic portrait of the 2 10-year-old killers. Detainment director Vincent Lamb says he was trying to discover what drove the boys to kill.
If people can't accept the fact that they were human beings, they would never be able to begin to understand what could have driven them to commit such a crime. I have enormous sympathy for the Bulger family.
But not so much that you didn't make the film, because, I mean, their argument will be, you didn't contact us, you didn't ask us.
He didn't because he didn't have to. Crime pays. Yeah, in this world where all these crime genres have really taken off, I mean, he's trying to be altruistic. Oh, I wanted to find out what drove the minds of 10-year-olds. This is a blockbuster. And I have to say, extremely well done. From what I've seen of it, it's extremely well done. I hate to say this, but it's not the job of movie producers or the news media to take into consideration the feelings of the people that they cover. I mean, it's horrible. It's true. It's cruel, but true. And, it would have been nice of them to contact her, but I don't think they were obligated to.
My first newspaper job many, many years ago, right after the invention of linotype, I was at the Tab newspapers, and the phone rings at my desk one day, and a very distraught woman wants to know why her son's arrest for armed robbery had been reported in the paper, in our police log section, with his name and address and everything, and how dare we? And I had to explain to her over her anguish and anger that it was a matter of public record, and that's what we do. We cover public proceedings like arrests. And I don't think she went away happy. I know she didn't. But that's, as you say, that's the reality of it. I just finished watching the excellent Netflix series about the Ted Bundy murders.
Oh, yeah.
And again, here's a 25-year-old case, really. And I'm sure there are some family members of victims who are not happy to see their whole nightmare relived.
And I'm sure they weren't told about it in advance.
Probably not.
See, they used real footage. That was one of the things that upset, because that awful footage of the boys taking him by the hand, and that was real surveillance video or stills, whatever it was, and she felt like that was a particular violation.
I agree with you to a point on not having to ask permission in order to do a story like this. It is part of the public record, but I do think you have to consider the impact of your words. I'm not saying that it should prevent you from doing something. You should consider whether this potentially could be harmful to those who are viewing it or reading it. Having said that, that should not block you. If you believe there's truly a story there, it's a story that the audience would want.
That's different than a news story.
Right, it is, but I think you say journalist, whether it's journalists or these kinds of documentaries. Having said that, I also believe that these kinds of true crime stories sell. We see that, on MSNBC, or now it's on headline news around the clock. They are always doing forensic files. So seems that this sort of thirst from the audience to see how are these crimes solved, and so that's the reason they keep doing them.
I remember this as if it happened last week. I've always found it incredibly upsetting. It's hard to even read the details about it. Of course, I agree that you don't have to take the family's feelings into consideration. This is not journalism. It's fiction.
Yes.
It's entertainment. I would like to think that a decent person would not go there. But, you know, he did, and he had a right to do it.
We had Tom Keeler on a few weeks ago, and he was very upset about how he was portrayed in the movie.
Well, sure. And this is, you know, a considerably
They never
more,
contacted him either.
This is a considerably more sensitive matter than that.
So, since it is in the entertainment category, I mean, what concerns me is that some people are describing it as a documentary.
It's not.
But I'm just saying, so that, for me, in a documentary, I would say most responsible documentarians would never have proceeded without having, whether they agreed to it or not. They didn't mean they couldn't proceed to tell the story, but that would be different. So you have that to think about. You're right about the interest in the true crime, which I am not at all interested in, so it's bizarre to me to see that. But I did note at the place that I used to work, 2020, the story of Lorena Bobbitt was now redone by journalists. I was there when we did the original story correctly, you know, and now this was like, let's look back and see what's happened. And it's so lurid. It was lurid enough you didn't really have to add the bells and the whistles and all of the way that they promoted it. So obviously that's falling in line with, you know, the interest in the way that true crime is being put everywhere on the radio and on television. And it's unfortunate that he didn't think that it was at least the honorable thing to do to alert this.
Probably never dawned on him.
No, probably didn't. But you know, that it's just unfortunate.
Time is money.
Yep.
Yeah.